advice. It's one of my favorites. Stay in your lane. You don't want to step on any toes. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, or something like Sally needs to stay in her lane, a variation of this might sound something like, when it comes to our higher ups and dealing with them, we'll hear, oh, when you're talking to the boss, keep the rose-colored glasses on. The boss doesn't like when we point out problems. He just wants solutions, right? Now, if we keep the analogy of lanes going, right? Imagine this. What happens in traffic if we remain solely in our lane on a long journey? Our careers are a long journey, right? We stay solely in our lane. Maybe there's a bad accident up ahead blocking our lane. I'll just sit here until that lane clears up. Is that what we do? No, we get out of our lane, right? Sometimes something could be in the road obstructing us, so we have to swerve out of our lane very quickly, right? It's a simple analogy, but it's the same thing when we think about our careers. Roads have dotted lines for a reason. They're meant to be navigated in a way where we can maneuver as needed. Now, if you don't listen to anything I say in any of this webinar, the one thing I will scream from the rooftops is the fear of pissing people off will hold you back. Why are we so scared to disrupt? Again, for me personally, I get nervous when everybody likes me. If everybody likes me, I'm not disrupting enough. I'm not asking enough questions. I'm not challenging enough. So when it gets quiet and everybody's like, "Ooh, I love that shit," I'm like, "Ooh, I need to go do something important," right? But that's just the nature of who I am. And I'm not saying that's the nature of who you need to be. We can absolutely disrupt in a purposeful way by practicing something called radical candor. The truth is powerful, but we do need to check in on that. As Donna said earlier, when it came to raising our hands for things, the same when swerving out of our lane, is this something that I care enough about? Do I mean what I'm saying? Can I defend what I'm saying? And can I say it thoughtfully? That's the process one of my favorite authors and speakers goes through whenever she disrupts. And I think that's certainly important here. We don't necessarily want to just throw out and lob truth bombs and call out problems, right? Yes, leaders love problem solvers. They don't love problem identifiers so much. And I think when we hear people say, "Oh, boss doesn't like to hear about problems," it's because, yes, there are a lot of problem identifiers out there, not necessarily a ton of problem solvers. So that is just, again, a little bit of a shift in the mindset. And for us as leaders, remember, leadership can be from different perspectives. Just because we might identify / want to be part of solving a problem, it doesn't mean we have to be the one to do it. We can lead from the front, we can lead from the side, we can lead from behind. Don't pile on the work if we don't have the space, but step up if you can, right, in a meaningful way. So, Donna, as we process this one, can you tell us a little bit more about that concept of radical candor that I mentioned? Because it might sound a little scary to someone that's not really familiar with it.
Absolutely. And it's funny because as recently as this morning, we were unpacking the idea of being disruptive, and not necessarily context of as a woman, yet I feel that it's very much there, right? And it's like when we
Right.
think about that, I want to lean into that, is there's disruptive. And actually, if you look at the etymology of the word and where it came from, it was really it was being able to challenge something enough to create something new. And so if you start to change your own narrative around what it means to challenge something, and to know the difference between being disruptive, where you don't actually care about maybe anything other than being right, then yeah, you know what? That's actually not going to bring much good to life. If it's that you genuinely care and are passionate about something, that you are actually responsible for challenging the space enough to bring something to conversation. And that is disruptive in a beautiful way. If you, again, I used earlier the analogy of nature. Nature is constantly disrupting itself because something new is about to come out through the earth and grow and be born. So this idea that, and I have my own story that from when we look at it from a woman's perspective, and so many women that I've talked to with this, is that there's something that feels a little bit mean almost, or non-supportive or uncaring about disagreeing or challenging. And that in of itself is so limiting, because aren't those the ways that you've learned everything that you've learned in life? And isn't it that you would want in reverse that somebody would challenge you if they saw something there that needed to come alive? So I'm inviting that to say, like, it's really about changing our narrative, changing our own belief systems to start with, about what being disruptive means and what challenging directly is actually creating for you and others.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.